In a city that never sleeps, neon lights and pounding beats became the pulse of a restless crowd. The Chris Brown Tour 2025 had transformed the night into a spectacular celebration. Thousands gathered, hearts racing in unison, and every street corner buzzing with excitement. Yet, beneath the electrifying energy and the dazzling stage, there existed a hidden world, one where every smile masked a secret and every glance could betray a promise. I am Alex, a seeker of truth in a realm where appearances are crafted and betrayals are concealed in the shadows. I've seen enough of this glittering world to know that behind the surface of fame lies a labyrinth of lies and deceptions. Tonight, as I stood at the edge of the exclusive VIP area, my eyes weren't just taking in the spectacle. They were searching, always searching, for the faintest hint of hidden truth. Amidst the roar of the crowd and the burst of confetti, I caught sight of a figure moving with unusual urgency. She was not one of the polished stars on stage, but a backstage assistant known simply as Dana. In her every movement, there was an undercurrent of tension, a nervous energy that hinted at secrets too dangerous to whisper. I watched as she slipped away from the prying eyes of the revelers, her footsteps silent yet laden with purpose. Drawn by an instinct I couldn't ignore, I followed at a discreet distance. The bass of the music throbbed through the walls as I navigated the narrow corridors behind the stage. It wasn't long before I reached a partially open door where the dim light spilled into the hallway. Through that small crack, I witnessed a scene that would change everything. Inside that room, Dana was locked in a hushed, intense conversation with a man whose presence sent a chill down my spine. I recognized him immediately, Damian Carter, a charismatic artist adored by millions. Damian was the picture of loyalty in public. Yet here, his secret was unfolding in whispers and clandestine touches. Dana's eyes, full of both desperation and resolve, locked onto his as she reached out, her hand trembling ever so slightly. In that moment, I realized I was witnessing more than just a forbidden liaison. I was catching a glimpse of the intricate web of deceit that ran deep in this glittering world. It was as if every move they made was part of a calculated dance, a betrayal in slow motion. And then, as if sensing my presence, Dana abruptly turned and slammed the door shut. The moment was fleeting, but it left behind an echo of guilt and fear. I stepped back into the chaos of the concert, my mind reeling with questions. Who was Dana? Really? How far did this betrayal run? And what dark secrets lay behind Damian Carter's carefully constructed public image? As the final encore blazed across the stage and the cheers of the audience reached a fevered pitch, I knew that the true performance was yet to begin. The night was alive with secrets, and every heart in that crowd might be hiding a story of deceit. That night, beneath the vibrant chaos of lights and sound, I made a silent vow. I would follow the trail of clues wherever it led, no matter how deep or dark the path became. For in a world built on dazzling illusions, the smallest truth could shatter even the strongest facade. And sometimes, the most unsuspecting moments, like a furtive exchange in a backstage corridor, could ignite a fire that would expose the lies of the powerful. As the city pulsed on, carrying with it the residual magic of the concert, I began my journey into the heart of betrayal. Every step I took was measured, every whisper of doubt a reminder that truth, however elusive, was worth pursuing. This was not just a story of infidelity. It was a chronicle of deception, where trust was sacrificed at the altar of ambition, and where even the brightest stars had shadows that stretched into darkness. Tonight marked the beginning of a tale that would peel back the layers of a glamorous world to reveal its hidden scars. Tonight, the glitter faded, and the true drama was about to unfold. The echo of that fateful night still haunted me as dawn broke over the silent city. In the hours after the concert, the world seemed to hold its breath, as if knowing that something dark had been set in motion. I had witnessed a betrayal so raw it burned like acid in my veins. Now, driven by a need for answers, I plunged headlong into a labyrinth where every whisper carried the weight of treachery. I began with the fragments, a scattered mosaic of evidence that hinted at a network of deceit far greater than a single illicit encounter. The pulsating lights of the Chris Brown Tour 2025 had been but a brilliant facade, concealing an underworld of secrets that thrived on shattered trust and broken promises. And in that hidden realm, every soul was complicit in a silent conspiracy. My journey led me to the outskirts of the city, to a place where the glamour of fame met the cold reality of forgotten dreams. There, in the dim light of a rundown cafe, I met Marissa, a former stagehand whose eyes held the sorrow of countless betrayals. Her voice trembled as she confessed what she had witnessed behind the velvet curtains of the tour. Loyalty, she whispered, is nothing but a fragile illusion in this world. Every smile hides a dagger. Every embrace conceals a secret. Her words struck me like a thunderbolt. She spoke of clandestine meetings in fog-shrouded backrooms and of influential figures who orchestrated affairs with the precision of a master puppeteer. It was not a single act of infidelity. It was an intricate symphony of deception, played out under the guise of glitter and glamour. Each revelation drove home the horrifying truth. A carefully constructed network was at work, one where personal lives were traded like currency and trust was shattered at the hands of ambition. The more I learned, the deeper I sank into a mire of betrayal, where the boundaries between right and wrong blurred into a dark, unyielding gray. Late one stormy evening, as rain hammered against broken windows and the city's neon lights danced on rain-slicked streets, I found myself following a trail of coded messages and hushed phone calls. In a deserted alley, lit only by the flickering glow of a street lamp, a text message arrived, a cryptic invitation to a meeting that promised to unlock the next chapter of this unfolding tragedy. The message was brief, yet its urgency was palpable. Midnight, Warehouse 13. Bring the truth. Every word resonated with a sinister finality. It was a summons to confront the very heart of the network, a place where the ghosts of past betrayals and the specters of future revenge merged in an inescapable embrace. At the stroke of midnight, I arrived at Warehouse 13, a decaying relic on the city's edge, its rusted gates and crumbling walls a stark reminder of forgotten secrets. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of damp decay and regret. Shadows danced in every corner, and the silence was punctuated only by the distant sound of dripping water, a metronome for the rhythm of impending doom. There, in the heart of the darkness, I met him, a man cloaked in mystery, known only as the Raven. His eyes burned with a fierce intensity, and his voice was a low rumble that spoke of countless sins and unspoken truths. "Alex," he said, his tone both a greeting and a warning, "you have crossed a line from which there is no return." I listened, spellbound, as the Raven revealed the true extent of the betrayal. With each word, he peeled back the layers of the industry's sinister underbelly, a world where loyalty was sacrificed at the altar of ambition, and every relationship was a pawn in a far-reaching game of power. He spoke of a mastermind, a shadowy figure who manipulated the lives of celebrities and insiders alike, turning acts of infidelity into tools for control and domination. The evidence was damning. Hidden contracts, anonymous recordings, and cryptic diaries painted a picture of a network so vast and so ruthless that even the brightest stars could not escape its clutches. As the Raven laid out the chilling details, I could feel the weight of every betrayal, every broken promise, pressing down on me like an avalanche of despair. In that dim warehouse, time seemed to slow. The rain outside was a relentless drumbeat to my racing heart, and every revelation felt like a plunge into a bottomless pit of darkness. The network was not just a series of isolated events. It was a calculated orchestration of lies, meticulously designed to keep the truth buried beneath layers of deceit. I left the warehouse with a heavy heart and a resolve forged in the fires of betrayal. The image of the raven's steely gaze burned into my mind, a constant reminder that the path ahead was fraught with danger and that every step taken toward the truth was a step deeper into the abyss. As the days turned into nights, the scandal began to seep into every facet of the public consciousness. Rumors spread like wildfire across social media, each new piece of gossip a spark threatening to ignite a conflagration of scandal. But beneath the sensational headlines and the roar of public outrage, the truth remained hidden, locked away in the dark corridors of power. Every encounter, every secret meeting, was a reminder of how deeply the betrayal had penetrated the world I thought I knew. The glittering veneer of fame was crumbling, revealing a landscape where every act of infidelity, every whispered deception, was part of an elaborate design. And at the heart of it all was a chilling certainty. Someone was orchestrating it all, a puppeteer whose motives were as murky as the midnight rain that had witnessed our fateful meeting. In the solitude of my small, dimly lit apartment, I sat with the evidence spread before me, a mosaic of shattered lives and broken trust. The files, the recordings, the faded photographs, all were fragments of a story that was larger and more sinister than I could have ever imagined. With every piece I pieced together, the stakes grew higher, and the line between justice and revenge began to blur. This was no longer just an investigation. It was a descent into the very heart of betrayal, where the cost of truth was measured in shattered souls and irrevocable losses. And as I prepared to take the next step, I knew that the coming days would test every fiber of my being. In that moment, standing at the crossroads of revelation and ruin, I made a silent vow. I would expose the network of betrayal, no matter the cost. The scars of tonight would serve as a beacon, a warning to those who thought they could hide behind masks of perfection. The truth, I realized, was not a fragile thing to be kept secret. It was a force of nature, destined to break even the strongest chains of deceit. The storm was coming, and I, Alex, would be the one to weather its fury, ready to face the darkness head on. For in that darkness lay the path to redemption and the promise of retribution. The tension that had been coiling like a spring finally snapped. Every hidden whisper, every stolen glance had led to this moment, where the veils of deceit began to fall, revealing the raw, unfiltered truth beneath. The night was no longer a canvas of neon lights and orchestrated performances. It had transformed into a battleground, a place where loyalty crumbled and every soul was forced to confront the darkness within. I was no longer just an observer. I had become entangled in the very web of betrayal I had set out to expose. The evidence was irrefutable, and with every revelation, the network of lies unraveled further, leaving behind a trail of devastation. The mastermind's identity was beginning to surface, a shadow lurking behind the glossy facade of fame and power, whose influence reached deep into the hearts of those who had once trusted him implicitly. It all came crashing down one stormy evening. Rain battered the city like the drumbeats of an approaching war, each drop echoing the fury of broken promises and shattered illusions. I found myself standing at the threshold of an abandoned theater, a relic from a bygone era when truth was not so easily hidden. The theater's faded grandeur mirrored the lives of those ensnared in the network, once brilliant, now tarnished by betrayal. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with memories and regret. Dust motes danced in the beams of shattered light filtering through broken windows. Amid the haunting silence, I uncovered a hidden archive, a cache of confidential recordings, private diaries, and damning photographs. Each artifact was a piece of the puzzle, a testament to the lives ruined by the ceaseless hunger for power. The ink on those pages recounted secret liaisons, blackmailed confidences, and cold-hearted manipulations. It was a chronicle of deceit so profound that it sent a shiver down my spine. But nothing prepared me for the confrontation that followed. A knock at the creaking door jolted me from the stupor of the past. I opened it to find a figure, shrouded in the darkness of the rain, standing with eyes blazing like embers. It was Lucas King. Yes, the media magnate who had long been whispered about in hushed tones. His presence was both mesmerizing and terrifying. With a voice that cut through the silence like a razor, he spoke. "Alex, you have dug too deep. Some truths are better left buried in the shadows." His words were a declaration of war, a challenge that ignited every instinct within me. The air crackled with the intensity of that moment, the charged silence punctuated only by the relentless patter of rain. It was a moment of reckoning, a point where the delicate balance between truth and deception teetered on the brink of irreversible collapse. Lucas's eyes gleamed with an unyielding determination, as if he had orchestrated every betrayal, every calculated lie, to secure his dominion over this fractured realm. His voice, laced with both venom and regret, recounted the price of ambition. In that instant, I understood that his power was not just in the secrets he hoarded, but in the fear he instilled. His control was absolute, and he was willing to sacrifice anything to maintain it. The confrontation escalated into a battle of wills. Words became weapons, and every statement was laced with the promise of retribution. My heart pounded as I challenged him, my voice echoing against the hollow walls of the theater. "You have exploited every weakness, manipulated every betrayal for your own gain. But tonight, your empire of lies begins to crumble." In the charged silence that followed, the ghosts of the betrayed seemed to rise around us. The countless lives ruined by your machinations, Lucas. The theater, once a sanctuary of forgotten dreams, now bore witness to the raw fury of truth unleashed. Lucas's expression shifted. A flicker of uncertainty betrayed the facade of his unwavering control. For the first time, I saw a man caught between the weight of his own sins and the inevitability of justice. Outside, the storm intensified, as if nature itself was crying out against the injustice that had permeated every corner of our world. The rain mingled with tears, of regret, of anger, of a desire for retribution that could not be quenched. In that charged moment, every betrayal, every stolen secret, coalesced into a single, searing demand: accountability. But the confrontation was only the beginning. The revelation of Lucas King's involvement sent shockwaves through the industry. The carefully constructed web of manipulation began to unravel, and whispers of scandal exploded across every medium. The public, once seduced by the illusion of perfection, now roared for truth. And as the headlines blazed with his name, Lucas's empire faltered under the relentless scrutiny of a world no longer willing to be deceived. Yet, amid the chaos, I sensed that the most painful betrayal was not just the public unmasking of a corrupt tyrant. It was personal. Every step I had taken, every moment of introspection, had led me to realize that the intricate web of deceit had once ensnared my own life. The weight of that realization was crushing, and the lines between justice and revenge blurred into a single, burning resolve. As I walked away from that confrontation, the thunder of the storm resonated within me. Every flash of lightning illuminated the truth in stark relief. The truth that I was not merely an investigator, but a force of reckoning, determined to dismantle the system of betrayal from within. The fire of retribution burned brighter with every step, fueling a determination that could not be quenched by fear or regret. The theater, now silent once more, stood as a monument to a pivotal moment, a moment when the lies of the powerful were laid bare, and the promise of justice began to echo through the darkness. The echoes of that confrontation would haunt me, driving me forward on a path where the stakes were higher than ever before. It was a path marked by pain, fury, and the relentless pursuit of a redemption that could only be achieved by dismantling the corrupt foundations of deceit. In the wake of that fateful night, the city transformed. Every neon light, every whispered rumor, became a beacon for those who craved truth. And I, Alex, embraced the role destiny had thrust upon me, to be the harbinger of a reckoning that would force every hidden secret into the unforgiving light. The storm had passed, but its echoes remained, a lingering reminder of the fury that had been unleashed. The city, once shrouded in deceit, now shimmered with a fragile hope as the first light of dawn broke over a skyline forever altered by scandal. I stood before the remnants of an empire built on lies, a silent witness to the collapse of a network that had once thrived on betrayal. For weeks, I had chased the ghosts of deception through darkened alleys, forgotten theaters, and secret boardrooms. Every whispered conversation, every hidden document, had led me to this final confrontation. Lucas King, the puppeteer behind it all, had believed his empire invincible. But as the evidence of his machinations mounted and the truth seeped into every corner of society, the foundations of his power began to crumble. It was on a crisp, clear morning that I arranged the decisive meeting, a clandestine rendezvous with those who had suffered under his reign and were ready for retribution. In an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, where the rusted metal and peeling paint told tales of neglect, I gathered the remaining truth seekers. Here, the stage was set for the ultimate showdown. As I stepped into the cavernous space, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. In the dim light, silhouettes of former allies and wronged souls emerged from the shadows, each one bearing scars from past betrayals. Their eyes, burning with righteous anger, met mine as we prepared to deliver our final blow. In that charged moment, I recalled every secret I had unearthed, the forbidden liaisons, the manipulative schemes, and the personal betrayals that had shattered lives. I felt the weight of every tear shed and every trust broken, and with that memory came an unyielding resolve to bring justice to those who had been deceived and to dismantle the network that had thrived on our collective pain. A heavy silence fell as I addressed the gathering. My voice, steady and resolute, cut through the gloom of the warehouse. Today, we reclaim our lives from the clutches of those who would use our pain for their gain. The lies that have held us captive are about to be laid bare, and no longer will the powerful hide behind a facade of respectability. It is time for reckoning. At that moment, Lucas King arrived. His presence, once so commanding, now faltered before the united force of truth. The eyes of every soul in that room, each scarred by his treachery, burned into him with a fury that could not be silenced. His confident stride wavered as he stepped into the circle of accountability. "What is this?" Lucas demanded, his voice cracking as the veneer of control slipped away. "You think you can force me to answer for everything?" I took a step forward, holding up a dossier thick with damning evidence, a testament to every secret meeting, every betrayal, every calculated manipulation. "Lucas, your reign ends today. Every lie you've spun, every life you've ruined, has been recorded. No longer will you hide behind your wealth, your influence, or your lies." The tension reached its zenith as the evidence was laid bare before the gathered crowd and later broadcast live to a world hungry for justice. Each revelation was like a hammer blow, shattering the illusion of invincibility. The media, once complicit in his carefully constructed narrative, now joined us in our crusade for truth. Headlines screamed, social media exploded, and the public's demand for accountability could not be ignored. Lucas's eyes darted nervously as he saw his empire crumble before him. His once commanding presence diminished to that of a man desperate to cling to fading power. "You have no idea what you're doing," he stammered, but his words were drowned out by the collective roar of voices united in righteous indignation. In that defining moment, a former victim, a once celebrated artist whose career had been ruined by Lucas's manipulations, stepped forward. With tears glistening in her eyes, she spoke. "You took everything from us, our trust, our hopes, our very selves. Today, we take it back." Her words were a spark that ignited the final act of retribution. One by one, more individuals emerged, each sharing their truth. The warehouse transformed into a tribunal of the betrayed, a chorus of voices demanding justice and accountability. The raw emotion in the room was palpable, a collective catharsis that had been years in the making. As the testimonies echoed off the walls, I approached Lucas one last time. With a steady hand, I placed the final piece of evidence, a recorded confession implicating him in the most egregious acts of manipulation, directly into his trembling grasp. "This is for every lie you told," I said, my voice low but unyielding. "This is for every life you shattered." The silence that followed was deafening. For a moment, time itself seemed to pause as Lucas stared at the evidence, the truth finally piercing the armor he had so carefully built. And then, as if resigned to his fate, he sank to his knees. The man who had once commanded the stage now crumbled before the overwhelming force of justice. In that moment, a profound sense of vindication swept over me and over every soul in that warehouse. It wasn't just a personal victory. It was the triumph of truth over deception, of the human spirit over the cruelty of unchecked power. The collective roar of approval was the sound of freedom reclaiming its rightful place. The fallout was swift and merciless. As Lucas's empire disintegrated, the networks of deceit he had so meticulously woven unraveled in every corner of the industry. Public trust, once shattered, began to rebuild itself on the foundation of accountability and transparency. The very institutions that had once been complicit in the cover-up of his crimes now faced sweeping reforms. The days of hidden betrayals and secret manipulations were over. I left that warehouse with a heart both heavy and relieved, a mixture of sorrow for what had been lost and hope for what could be rebuilt. The road ahead would be long, and the scars of betrayal would not vanish overnight. But in the wake of this reckoning, there lay the promise of a new era, one where truth would no longer be sacrificed at the altar of power. As the sun rose higher, bathing the city in a warm, golden light, I took one final look back at the warehouse, the stage of our revolution. The echo of our collective stand against injustice reverberated through the streets, a promise that the cycle of betrayal had been broken. In that light, the darkness of deceit was banished, replaced by the radiant glow of redemption. I am Alex, and my journey has taught me that while betrayal can scar us, it can also forge the strength to rise again. Today, we reclaim our dignity, our trust, and our future. And as I move forward into a new dawn, I carry with me the memory of every soul who dared to stand for truth, a legacy of resilience, a testament to the power of justice. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where revenge is not merely an act of retribution, but a restoration of what was once lost. The web of deceit has been dismantled, and in its place stands the unyielding promise of a better, honest world.